Hey, everybody. It's John Halpin. I'm here with Josh Katzowitz. Welcome to the Week 8 Thursday edition of Pickwatch Live. We are recording this shortly after 7 o'clock Eastern on Thursday morning. Josh is in the Central Time Zone. Josh, it's early for you, huh?
Yeah, it's early for me. You know what, John? I'd get up at 4 a.m. just to talk to you about football.
Really?
No.
Just to talk to me. Wow. That's kind of cool. I appreciate that. I'm wide awake. I've been up for an hour and a half. I'm raring to go.
I'm up for about 8 minutes.
Really? Are you an early riser generally?
No.
I know you have other things you have to do, but what's your general? You have kids, so I'd imagine.
I have kids. Yeah, no, I've never been early. I was one of the typical sports writers who go to bed at 1 or 2 in the morning every night and get up at 9 o'clock. But since kids, that hasn't happened. So I still go to bed late and I have to get up early. So my life is really screwed sometimes.
Sorry, man.
That's all right, man. Like I said, it's a pleasure. I mean, to hear your dulcet tones in the morning really make my heart sing.
My dulcet tones. That's what you got going on. All right. Folks, before we get started with all the games and all the whole background stuff, let's just talk Dolphins-Texans first. This is tonight's game. Texans have won 4 in a row. Texans are favored by 7.5 at home. Over under is 44. Let me get the early morning odds, see if that's changed. Now we look 44.5, 45, depending on where you find it. Mostly you can get 7 or 7.5, depending on where you look here. Deshaun Watson. So last week they went to play Jacksonville, which was this terrifying defense, or was, maybe not so much anymore. And they sent him on a bus from Houston to Jacksonville because they were worried about flying him with a punctured lung. And then he went out and, he didn't throw for tons of yards, but he played okay.
I wonder did he have a chaperone, or did they just kind of say, "Here, man, here's your bus ticket. Good luck."
Put him on a Greyhound? You think that's what they did?
I don't know. Was it a Greyhound? That seems unlikely, but
I bet it was a Madden Cruiser-ish, pretty awesome bus.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
It's impressive when a guy like that can go out there with a partially collapsed lung and do that. And he can't fly because they're afraid of what's going to happen if he flies. And he goes out and performs okay. And you're right, the Texans are on a 4-game winning streak. Now, it's not like an impressive 4-game winning streak. I mean,
it's four wins is 4 wins.
Yeah, no, they've beaten the dregs of the NFL, the Colts, Cowboys, Bills, and Jaguars, but certainly – and I guess the Jaguars aren't really the dregs, but, certainly better than the alternative. So, yeah, I mean, you have to when a guy goes out and does that, the team has to look at him with a little more respect and say, oh, man, you know what? This guy's really leading us around here. It's great.
Yeah. So other news from this game, Kiki Kute, the young receiver for the Texans, is out with a hamstring injury. The Dolphins are really hurting on offense. Albert Wilson, who was doing really well for them, hurt his hip. He's probably out for the year. Kenny Stills is out. So, they're going to be playing like Jakeem Grant and, not a heck of a lot. Danny Amendola. Actually, one thing, Devontae Parker, I think Adam Gase said the other day, they're kind of feuding, and Devontae Parker's agent called Gase incompetent. And then they asked Gase if Parker was going to play. He was like, well, I don't have anybody else. So, yeah. Go team. Yay.
That's what happens when, things, when you lose 3 or 4, right?
Yeah. So Brock Osweiler, it's the Brock Osweiler revenge game going back to Houston. That's a good one. I think the Texans defense has been playing really well. It's funny. They started with 0-3, and it looked like they were headed in a death spiral, and they've really bounced back. Their defense has been playing very well. I tend to think they're going to torture and just mash Brock Osweiler tonight. What do you think?
Oh man, let's not talk about Brock in those terms.
No?
You know what? You're probably right.
It's Brocktober, so we can't really say too much bad about him.
He's actually played pretty well the last couple of games. He's never. Yes. The last 3. He started the last 2 games. He's played the last 3 games, and every game he's played in, he has a quarterback rating of 94.9 or better. He's never had a stretch like this in his career where he's played this well, which is kind of sad to say, but 6 touchdowns, 2 picks in the last 3 games. He's playing as well now as he ever has before. And really, who's to say that if he keeps playing this way, why couldn't he take over for Ryan Tannehill for good? Now, that's not a great thing either way, but He's playing pretty well. And you have to look at this game and say, why not Miami here? I know they're 7.5-point dogs, but they're only a game out of first place in the AFC East. Yeah, they haven't played well, but the Texans, I think, still aren't very good. I'm going Texans straight up, Dolphins to cover the spread. But this game, I think it's kind of right for Miami to take it if they play well and if Brock plays well.
All right. Yeah, I'm not a Brock believer. Maybe he'll convince me tonight. I'm more pessimistic on him than you are, especially with the receiving injuries.
No, he's been terrible throughout his career. There's no reason to be all that optimistic. I'm just saying that his last couple games, he's played well.
I agree.
Never played as well as he has right now. So who's to say?
All right. So we've got tonight. By the way, Texans historically, I don't get too much into the historical stats going way back. Texans favored by a touchdown or more at home, 2-8 against the spread. I don't know how far that goes back. It's probably a while. Just an interesting tidbit. Right now we've got on Pickwatch. We don't have too many picks in on Pickwatch.com or NFLPickwatch.com. 57% Texans in the early going on the picks there. So that's what you got. So you're Dolphins against the spread. What about straight up?
Texans. It's Thursday night game, a road team. Doesn't perform well. I mean, doesn't usually win those games. So I think Texans win straight up. And I think even on a neutral field, not a neutral field, but at a regular time, maybe a different story. But I like the Texans to win, but it'll be close.
All right. I think it's one of those things where I don't want to watch it, but I know I will. Last week, I actually finally turned the game off. Every Thursday, remember when Thursday games used to always be terrible?
Yeah.
And early this year, they were actually pretty good. But I was always that person who I go, oh, it's a terrible game. It was 3 years ago, Titans-Jaguars, when they both stunk. I go, yeah, I know, but I watched anyway. Yeah. Last week, Cardinals-Broncos at halftime. I was like, I can't do this to myself. Life's too short to watch the second half of this stupid game.
No, so, you can't torture. I think I watched about 3 minutes of that game, and I was like, all right, I've seen enough.
Yeah, but tonight I'm watching. I want to see how Deshaun Watson does. I think big night for you fantasy folks. I think Lamar Miller's in line for a big night, by the way. The Dolphins' run defense has been bad. Lamar Miller's he's in a sweet spot this week. All right, last week you crushed me. I was 10-3 straight up, 6-7 against the spread. You were 12-2 straight up, 10-3 against the spread, that's a really impressive outing for anyone.
It's funny, you look at these games and they're going kind of the way you thought they would, and you're like, man, I'm really good at this. I couldn't miss it. I couldn't miss a damn thing yet last week. But then, this week it could go 3-10. It's just, you don't know this league. So,
and I was as you mocked me for, I was as certain could be about the Bears. And you basically told me, I think your words were, I don't even know what you're talking about right now with all this stuff you're saying. And if Kevin White had gotten in on that Hail Mary, I would have been right. Darn it.
That's all about the game's about inches, right? Is that baseball or football?
What a great ending that was. It was really awesome. I thought he was going to get in.
He almost did.
All right, so Josh is 52-50 overall against the spread. I'm 51-52. So Josh is he's 16th in the standings right now against the spread among the experts. I'm 20th, and that's among 60, 65 people, something like that. So we're doing fine. I got to bounce back this week, though. 2 weeks in a row under 500. This has got to stop. If you have questions for us along the way, he is at Josh Katzowitz on Twitter. I'm at Halpin37. The main account is at Pickwatch. Make sure to make your own picks. 1,400 people making their picks on Pickwatch.com now, at NFLPickwatch.com. We do our shows Tuesdays, Thursdays. I do one Sunday at 11:45 a.m. tracking the inactives and all that stuff. So tune in on either our Facebook page for Sunday, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe so you know when all the games. And this show, we're going to talk about every game. In addition to being able to watch the whole show, as a lot of you know, you'll be able to watch the individual clips of games. So if you just want to watch the Dolphins-Texans, you can watch that. And every time you're thinking about a game, you're on the fence about a game, check our YouTube channel. You can check what we say for 3 or 4 minutes about each game. It's a really helpful tool. At least we think so if you like our picks. So please check it out. All right, let's get to the rest of the Week 8 schedule. One more thing, the forums on NFLPickwatch.com. Go check them out. If you want to talk about picks, if you have technical issues, you have suggestions for the site, whatever, Sean and the team are working on it all the time. So please check out the forums. They're really cool. Bye weeks, Falcons, Cowboys, Chargers, Titans. Speaking of Chargers, Titans, they were in London last week. The Eagles and Jags are in London this week. 9:30 a.m. start if you want to pick that game. 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Eagles favored by 3.5 over the Jaguars. Over-under is 42. Let me see if we've got any other movement there. 3 or 3.5 everywhere. So 42, 42.5 sounds about right now. Bortles is going to start after getting yanked last week. What's going on there? I mean, we knew he wasn't that good, but he's sort of regressing. Last year, he seemed to have made a step forward toward adequate from terrible. Now he seems like he's going back toward terrible. What do you think we got moving forward for Blake Bortles?
I mean, you got to stick with him, I think. They kind of are all in on him. they gave him a 3-year, $54 million extension after last year, and they ride or die with him at this point. You can't. Cody Kessler is not an answer for them.
Right.
It's funny because there are times in a quarterback's career when he plays just well enough to kind of garner like a huge deal like this. And Bortles did. I mean, do you remember Joe Flacco did it a few years ago in the playoffs? Got himself a huge deal, and he's been okay. I mean, he's not been great, but at least he's been better than Bortles has been. But it's like you always regress back to what people thought you were usually. And we thought Bortles was not very good, and he had a good stretch last year, and then now he's kind of back to where we thought he was, where he's just not very good. But the Jags don't have a choice, man. They can't really start Cody Kessler. I mean, the season can still be saved. Cody Kessler isn't saving the season.
Right. It's not like anyone's running away with this division.
Maybe Bortles can be the guy that kind of gets back on track and helps them.
Yeah. And folks, for those of you who have read things about, hey, maybe Tom Coughlin will trade for Eli Manning, their offensive line's not that great. They need a quarterback that can move, and Eli ain't it. So I agree with you. They're riding or dying with Blake Bortles. They're going to have the backfield a little different this week. Carlos Hyde joins TJ Yeldon. Leonard Fournette's still out. So Hyde and Yeldon Hyde maybe a little stronger runner. Not a better runner necessarily, but a little more powerful, let's say.
Yeah.
The Jags defense, they haven't been as good as last year, but against the Texans, they weren't bad. Because, I mean, this was, Bortles gave them some short fields. So the defense really only gave up 10 of those 20 points. So the Jags defense, for whatever struggles they had last week, they were kind of okay. And I think this is going to be a defensive struggle pretty much because the Eagles have been struggling a lot on offense. I mean, they moved the ball against Panthers for a while, and then they just stopped dead in their tracks. So I think, this could go under the 42 for me.
Yeah, well, I certainly is not going to be helped by the Jaguars' offense, but yeah, only giving up 272 total yards last week versus the Texans. Those are pretty good. That's pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Wentz has been pretty good for the Eagles this year. I don't know. I'm really kind of down on the Jaguars, and I think if one of the disappointments is Leonard Fournette, and he just can't be counted on to get in the game and play. And they put so much effort and time and money into him, and now you got to get Carlos Hyde. He's got 5 touchdowns this year, but this is also his 3rd team now in less than 2 years, and he's solid and he's whatever. But when you're counting on a guy like that to really kind of boost things, it's not great. And this game is, like I said, Jacksonville can still save its season, but there's no indication, I think, in the last few weeks that they're actually going to do it because, like you said, the defense has been fine, but that offense is so bad that it's hard to see. Like, they get behind, there's no chance for them catching up. So all the Eagles have to do is come out and score a touchdown early, and that puts Jacksonville on its heels. And from there, they haven't been shown any kind of ability to come back.
All right. This game, by the way, the Eagles are 2-5 against the spread. The Jags are 3-4. I'm looking at this game and saying neutral field, 2 teams that are, I think, pretty comparable. I'm going to take the points and go with the Jags. What about you?
Yeah, no, I took the Eagles straight up. I took the Jacksonville with the +3. That's you walk the edge when you do stuff like that, but I don't really have a great feel for this game. Like I said, I don't think either of these teams are all that great, so it's kind of hard to be definitive one way or another. So I'm just kind of splitting hairs, I guess.
All right. Right now, early going on Pickwatch, 54% Eagles from the early pickers. We've got about 14 in right now. 13 in, just like every Thursday morning. The picks will start rolling in today and tomorrow morning. So check them out then. All right. Browns, Steelers. We've got Steelers by 8 on Pickwatch. Let's see what else we got here. We've got 8. I'm seeing 8, 8.5, 7.5, depending on where you look. Over-under is right around 50. So these 2 teams tied in week 1. The Steelers have not covered four straight games. The Steelers have not covered against the Browns. The Browns lost another close one last week. They hang around. Their defense is really good, I think.
Yeah. No, I think we're in a little bit of a different place now. As just from a couple weeks ago, where the Steelers were struggling and losing the Ravens and tying the Browns and barely beating the Buccaneers. They're in a little bit of a different place now, where they're coming off big wins against Falcons and a nice win at Cincinnati, coming off their bye. They're in a good spot where the Browns are now kind of regressed. It feels like they've regressed a little bit, at least on offense. Baker Mayfield kind of maybe hasn't played as great, and they're just going to be one of those teams that stick around and lose a game by 3 points, goes overtime and loses, gets it maybe a little outcoached. I'm a little more, even though week 1 was such a shock when they tied the Steelers. Remember how shocking that was?
Yes.
I don't feel like they're in the same place now. I feel like they've regressed a little bit, and I'm pretty confident the Steelers are going to win this game. I do think 8's a little much because it is AFC North, and because Steelers have struggled a little bit with the Browns in the past, like you just mentioned, with their especially covering. I think the Browns will cover the 8, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to lose the game.
I'm kind of with you. I mean, it wouldn't totally shock me if they won, but I've got Steelers straight up, Browns against spread. That 8, like you said, I think the Browns are a decent team, a close to average team. And I agree with you. The offense has struggled a little bit. It's so funny how they're talking now about one of the beat writers, Mary Kay Cabot, the other day said, well, what they really need here is a sort of a deep threat receiver, someone else to go with Landry and David Njoku. It's like, yeah, if only they didn't trade one 3 weeks ago. I mean, I know why they did it, and there were other issues involved, but Josh Gordon would be the perfect thing for them right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. No, it is. You can't count on a guy like that. He's never been, So I certainly understand that. It's not like John Gruden saying, "Oh man, I wish we had that pass rush." It's not that same situation. But yeah, no, it's understandable what she's saying because she's right. But Gordon wasn't the guy. So
because Landry's a different kind of guy. I mean, I know Landry doesn't have to be a slot guy, but he's also not sort of one of those big alpha receivers either. So all right, so I'm with you. I've got Browns against the spread, Steelers straight up. Right now on NFLPickwatch.com, 54% Browns against the spread. So there we go.
It's a little too much, +8.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Browns are too good for that, I think. All right, next up, Chiefs Broncos. What we got here? We got 10 on the site, right? It's still 10? Yes. Chiefs by 10. I see Chiefs by 10 everywhere. Over-unders, 53.5, 54. Chiefs are 7-0 against the spread. I think I've joked with you that I picked against them every week for a while. And, they didn't treat me too well. Is there any way they don't score 30 in this game?
Yeah, there is. The only time they haven't scored 30 this year was against the Broncos in week 4. They only scored 27. So yeah, sure, there's a chance. I think the problem here, one of the problems the Broncos have is they're really banged up on defense. Mm-hmm. Eric Wolf, Shane Ray, Darren Stewart, all questionable. Adam Jones hasn't played in a couple weeks. The good thing for Denver is they're pretty solid against the pass, and they're not very good against the run. So maybe you see a little less Mahomes this week, a little more Kareem Hunt, which is obviously it can be a tough thing to stop. But yeah, I mean, we just saw a few weeks ago that the Chiefs don't have to score 30 when they play the Broncos. I mean, they'll still win. I think they're still going to win. I think the +10's a little much, especially what happened a few weeks ago.
All right. Did you hear the story, by the way, the Chad Kelly story?
So him get arrested?
Yeah, well, they waived him.
Yeah.
Well, did you hear how he got arrested?
No.
So I think, if I heard right, he might have been at Von Miller's Halloween party. He was at some party in Denver. And so he left the party. He walked down the street and walked into someone's house and sat down on the couch.
As you do.
I hate to laugh because I don't know if it's a problem or just a young guy being stupid. And then the guy in the house was basically beating him up with a vacuum cleaner hose until he left. So whatever. It just made me laugh when I read the details of the story.
John's really getting a kick out of that.
I loved it. It's so great. Like, I read that as funny. Walking into someone's house and sitting on the couch, I'm looking going, really? Who hasn't done that? Right? No, I haven't, but anyway, no more Chad Kelly on the Broncos, so he's not going to take over for Case Keenum. Now, people were thinking that early in the year that it might happen at some point. Not going to happen now.
Who's their backup?
Other thing for the Broncos. What'd you say?
So I'm going to look up who their backup is now in Denver.
They don't have Paxton Lynch anymore.
I was going to say it's still Paxton Lynch.
Right. So, yeah, I don't remember who's there. All right. The other thing, Royce Freeman, his status is to be determined. He got hurt last week. It looked like it might be a long-term injury. Now it's looking like not so much. He didn't practice Wednesday. We're going to have to wait and see on that. The Chiefs do have been sort of permissive against the run. So it's something to watch. I am just going to take the Chiefs here. I know the Broncos held them last time. Denver's a tough place to play for road teams. I think at Arrowhead, the Chiefs are going to smoke these guys.
I don't. I think it's going to be closer than that. Their backup is Kevin Hogan, by the way.
Yeah.
That we should never have forgotten in reality because it's Kevin Hogan. I keep waiting for Denver to, listen, the Denver played great against the Cardinals, and that's not saying much, but they still put up 45. I don't think Denver, like I said, I don't think Denver's going to win this game, but I think they're going to keep it closer than 10. So I'll go with the Broncos here to cover.
All right. I'm going Chiefs to win and cover. On Pickwatch so far, 77% Chiefs, but we're early, like we always say. Next up, Bears-Jets. Bears favored by 7 at home. I put Bears at Jets on the sheet, but that is not the case. So
yeah, get some great stats for the Bears at home, and I was like, wait a minute, this says they're playing at the Jets. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, right.
That's all right, John. Nobody has to
I'm
see
messing
that.
up, slacking. It's too early in the morning.
Yeah, I know.
Actually did the notes last night. So, all right. So we got seven points on Pickwatch, right? Let's make sure it's 7. 7 points right now. I'm seeing the over under at 45. Everywhere it's 45 or 45.5. You can get 7.5 depending on where you shop for this spread. If you want the Jets, you might want to look for that. Khalil Mack was clearly not himself against the Patriots. His ankle hurt. Hopefully for the Bears, if you're on that side of things, he will improve this week and be back closer to his normal self.
Yeah, I mean he's a big reason that their defense has played so well. They are second in the league in turnover differential at +7, and Mack obviously is a big part of that. So, but even when he's not been on the field that much or hasn't played quite as well, they're still turning the ball over. I mean, they're still getting turnovers on defense. Right. 3 in the past. 3 against the Patriots, 3 against the Dolphins, 3 the week before against the Bucs, and 4 against the Cardinals in week 3. So this is a team that defense gets turnovers, which is good. And the Jets aren't great at not turning the ball over. They're -1. I think that's 18th or 19th in the league. So a lot of that game's going to depend on turnovers. And like I said, if you get Khalil Mack back, that he makes a big difference when it comes to that. But the Bears defense is still pretty good without him.
Right. And the Jets, like you said, I think there's only been one game where they haven't turned the ball over twice or more. So they're turning it over a lot. It's a road game for Darnold. I mean, this one sets up well for the Bears. I think I like the Bears more than most people. So I'm predisposed to pick them. But this just sets up really well for them. And the Jets also, by the way, Trubisky's had trouble. Last week, Trubisky had trouble throwing outside. Everything was sort of dinking and dunking underneath when he did well. It was either Cohen or Burton. And he wasn't hitting the wide receivers a lot. However, the Jets' corners are pretty banged up. Last week, I think they were missing their starters. They might be. A couple of them didn't practice again yesterday. This is just a tough. I think this is a really tough spot for the Jets.
I'm still not sure, obviously, what to make of Mitch Trubisky. I mean, you see him break out of the pocket, and you can see how athletic he is, and you say, "Oh, this guy can be pretty good," and he's been okay. I think he's got 13 touchdowns, and I think against maybe 6 picks, something like that.
He threw 6 touchdowns in one game.
I know. Yeah, I know. But, hey, man, he still threw them. For the rest of the season, it's been fine. I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. I think – who did I pick here? I know I went the Bears straight up.
You got –
what did I do?
I will tell you.
Okay.
You have got
the Jets at +7. Yeah, Jets at +7. So I guess I think it's going to be a close game. One bit of trivia, because you send these kind of show rundowns at night. So I spend a lot of time late in the night figuring this stuff out. So I go on these kind of runs sometimes, or like you get kind of unimportant trivia. But the Jets haven't beaten the Bears since 2000. Haven't won in Chicago since 1997.
Wow.
So that's when we were much younger men. Now they don't play very much, but still,
It's an interesting note. I agree. Inane trivia is a good way to put it.
It's very inane.
All right, Josh has got the Jets against the spread. I've got the Bears right now. We are 54% Jets at Pickwatch. Also, the Bears, last 16 home games, 11-4-1 against the spread. Redskins, Giants. We have got Redskins by 1. Hold on. There we are. Redskins favored by 1 on the site.
Weird. Is that a weird? That seems really weird to me, that spread.
It's weird to me too. And I see it as 2 in one place. Over under is 42. I don't know if the trade of Damon Harrison is factored in here, but
that wouldn't.
It should be. Yeah, I mean, the Redskins are 4-2. I know no one believes in them, but they're 4-2, and the Giants are not good. And the Redskins are only favored by a point. By the way, watching on Facebook Live, my buddy Boos, who is an angry Giant fan, has the Redskins as his lock of the week, which is not a shock at all. I was expecting that. So,
yeah, I mean, I would think that it would if I was just going into it, I'd say, oh, the Redskins are probably like -4, -5, something like that. This -1 doesn't make any sense to me. Mostly because how bad the Giants have been. And, they've been on some national TV games where they just play bad, and it's awful. And you kind of feel bad for Eli, but, man, it seems like he's done.
yes.
And it seems like the Giants are giving up. I mean, trading Damon Harrison, getting rid of Eli Apple, getting rid of Eric Flowers. Not that was probably made to improve the team, but, it just feels like the Giants are done. And they're showing the world they're done. So I just don't see how it's how they're only 1-point underdogs.
I don't either. They played a couple of close games, but the game against the Falcons really wasn't that close. They couldn't move the ball until there were 5 minutes left. And the Redskins defense is pretty good. So, I mean, the Giants offense is basically hope that Barkley or Beckham, gets the ball and breaks a 60-yard play. So
yeah, and they can obviously do that, but that's not a winning strategy for them.
No. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't understand the spread either. I think the Redskins should be favored by more.
Last week we talked about Alex Smith, and I know your note. I'm going to take your note here where you said the Redskins have been under in 8 of the last 10.
Right.
Last week we talked about how the week before in week 6, it was like the perfect Alex Smith game where he threw for less than 200 yards, threw for a couple touchdowns and that kind of thing. And it was another one last week versus the Cowboys, 14-25 for 178 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 picks, and Redskins kick a couple field goals, and they score a defensive TD, and there you go. But that's Alex Smith, and he's really good at it's seen as kind of derision, but he's a game manager. But he's a really good game manager, and that's a big reason why they're playing well. They're not going to be explosive, and they're going to be in some of these close games, and their offense isn't going to be great, but they're not going to make very many mistakes. And Alex Smith, I still think, is a pretty good quarterback, just for what he is, and he's done well for the Redskins. And the Redskins must like having him.
It's funny. I was talking to my dad about this the other day, about the Redskins being 4-2, and while I'm more like we argue, I'm more statistically inclined and everything, and we disagree on some things. But he gave me the well, look at Alex Smith again. All he's doing is winning games. And I'm looking, and all along, I'm like, yeah, but it's a factor of the team and the defense and all that stuff. But he's at another spot. He's winning more games. The guy, you're right. He doesn't make mistakes, and if the defense is going to play well, they're not going to blow anybody out. And with him, getting them to rack up 40 points. But you're right. He's not going to make mistakes. And right now, he's in a weird spot because they run a lot. Some of their receivers are hurt. They might get Chris Thompson back this week. They're hoping to. But yeah, the receivers are, Crowder's out. Richardson, I think, is still out. And, they're just, it's kind of working for them. It's not a high scoring, entertaining brand of football, but if the defense plays well, he doesn't screw it up. You're right.
And Adrian Peterson's been fine. I mean, but he's not great. He's not a game breaker anymore. And, he's doing okay, but I don't know. Alex Smith won in Kansas City, Alex Smith won in San Francisco, and then he loses his job and goes somewhere else and just wins. And I think we're to a point now where you look at Alex Smith and say, hey, he's not like like I said, he's not going to put up 350 yards and throw for 4 touchdowns, but there's something. He's valuable, man, and we've seen that this year. We've seen it throughout his career, but we've certainly seen it this year.
Yep. All right. But I agree with you. You got to take the Redskins here.
I just don't get the
Giants waving the white flag a bit.
So weird.
Yeah. Right now we've got 85% Redskins. Folks, I would suggest to you with the Damon Harrison news and the following up on the Eli Apple news, so the Giants are down 2 starters on defense after trades, I would suspect that this spread is going to go up in favor of Washington. If you want to bet the Redskins, do it now. Because that spread's not going to change the other way. It's going to change with it going up to 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that, most likely. So jump on it if you want the Redskins. Okay. Seahawks at Lions. Lions favored by 3, over under 49.5. Let me see if that line has changed at all. I'm seeing mostly 3. I see 3.5. 49.5 seems to be the over under. Now the Lions it's interesting. They get Damon Harrison, who is a great run stopper, against a Seahawks team that has really committed itself to the run this year. So it's an interesting – it's sort of – this trade plays into this game very well.
Yeah. This was actually my fun game of the week on the Pickwatch column. Yeah, you know what? I like the Lions. I'm starting to believe in them, I think. And a big reason why is what Kerryon Johnson's done, especially what he did last week, rushing for 158 yards, and LeGarrette Blount added 50 more yards. And all of a sudden, when you get that running game for Detroit, and Matthew Stafford doesn't have to like put the whole offense on his shoulders; only has to put about half of it on his shoulders. All of a sudden, it's a team that plays really well, that can be really good. Last week Stafford threw for 217 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 22 attempts. That's the fewest amount of passes he's thrown in a game since week 2 of 2017. So, and you see they put up 457 yards total offense. They scored 32 points. I like this Detroit team when they can run the ball, and Seattle has a top 5 defense, so it's going to be not going to be quite so easy. But just the I guess I don't know, just showing they have that ability, just showing that Kerryon Johnson can kind of be that guy, I think it's a really good thing for Detroit.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I also agree. I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the Seattle defense because early in the year, I know I was saying a lot, well, it's not the same defense it was before. They lost a lot of guys. Don't think they're the same team. But you know what? Their defense is playing really well. I mean, credit where credit's due. They've been strong.
Well, but they did give up 33 points to Los Angeles a couple weeks ago. They gave up 468 yards, and that's kind of been an anomaly this year for them. But
that's the Rams. So
right, no, I know,
yeah.
But I'm not saying the Lions are as good as the Rams on offense, but I'm just saying the Lions are better than the Raiders on offense. They're better than the Cardinals on offense, which is what Seattle has beaten the last. They're better than the Cowboys on offense, which those are the last 4 games that Seattle has played. So we're not talking like the best offensive teams in the league, but they're doing this again. So it's going to be – that's why it's a fun game for me to watch, just because I like – this is going to be certainly a test for Seattle's defense as well.
All right. So the Lions here, yeah, they won 3 out of 4. They're 5-1 against the spread, which is kind of interesting. This is actually, I think this is a good fun. I agree with you on fun from the standpoint of it should be competitive, and I'm not totally sure what to make of it.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the way the Lions are playing, so I'm going to go that way with them at home.
Yeah, I do too.
All right. We've got 54% lines in the early going on NFLPickwatch.com. All right, next up, Bucks Bengals. We've got 4.5 on the site on NFLPickwatch.com. 4.5. I see 4.5 just about everywhere. Over under 54.5, depending on where you're looking. I saw this at 6 points on Monday. So the Bucks have been good. Bucks got some early love from the bettors. Are the Bengals fading? They've lost 2 in a row. They lost that game against the Steelers where Antonio Brown caught the pass at the very end of the game and ran it in. Then they just got smoked by the Chiefs. Is that just the Chiefs are awesome, or are the Bengals kind of fading from what we thought they were early on?
I think what happened last week was kind of an anomaly for Cincinnati. I don't think they're awful. I don't think they're slipping. I mean, obviously we'll see against the Buccaneers and how they play, and if they lose this game against Tampa Bay, then you can kind of talk about whether or not they're slipping. But yeah, I think that's more of a thing where the Chiefs are just really awesome. The Bengals are just awful in prime time games, and I think it was more about that. At the same time, the AFC North isn't getting any easier for Cincinnati. The Steelers are playing the Browns like we talked about earlier, so you have to figure that they're going to win. And in order to keep pace with that, Cincinnati really needs to play well and win against the Buccaneers. And like you've seen, it doesn't really matter who's a quarterback for Tampa Bay. That offense can be really explosive. So I like Cincinnati here, but it's not going to be quite as easy. I mean, that 4.5 spread is a pretty good spread. I think Cincinnati is going to be okay, but the Buccaneers can make it so they're not okay. They have that ability.
Yes. And the Bucs, by the way, okay, 2 things here. The Bucs have gone over. Their games have gone over in 6 of the last 7. Their defense has been terrible. They lost Quan Alexander, the linebacker, to a torn ACL last week. They had 2 defensive linemen out last week, Gerald McCoy and Vin Curry. Sounds like they're going to be out again. Or at least they didn't practice Wednesday, so it's not looking good. So the Bucs, bad defense that's down 3 guys. There should be some fireworks here because the Bucs offense is pretty good. Jameis is playing well, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and Cincinnati has shown an ability. They can score some points too. They did it a couple weeks ago against the Falcons, and they scored some points against the Dolphins. So, I agree with that over. I would take the over as well. At 54.5, I like that.
What's up?
Well, yeah, you don't usually see an early morning appearance for my kids, but usually I do this upstairs in the morning when they're getting ready. But I'm down here today, and now we have visitors.
Nice.
That's my kid. One of my kids.
This game, we have got 69% Bengals against the spread on Pickwatch. I'm actually going Bucks with the point. I think the Bucks are going to keep it close. I think their offense is good enough, even though their defense is terrible.
What did I pick in this game? I know I can take the Bengals straight up.
I've got you at Bengals against the spread. Bengals covering.
Yeah, 4.5. I still have a little bit of faith. I playing Bengals at home. I guess I think the Bengals have something to prove, so I think they're going to be.
Yeah, I've got Bengals straight up in this one. All right, Ravens, Panthers. All right, this is a weird line for me. The Ravens, let me see if this has changed overnight. I see 1.5 or 2 everywhere. We've got Ravens by 2. I mean, and over-under is 44. I don't get this. I look at this and I go, all right, the Panthers are 4-2. The Ravens are pretty good. I see 2 teams that are on a similar level, probably.
Yeah.
And the Ravens are favored by 2 on the road? This line, like the one you talked about earlier, the Washington Giants line, this line jumped out at me as kind of strange.
Yeah, I don't quite get it. I can see the Ravens going on the road against a lot of teams and being the favorites, but the Panthers, not necessarily against the Panthers. Panthers, I really think I'm sorry. My kids are hurt. And now my daughter's upset because I just showed her on Facebook Live. She doesn't like being on Facebook Live, I guess.
Right.
Anyway, this game scares me this week. A lot of it because of the line, but I'm not really sure. The Panthers haven't been great on offense, but what they showed last week against Philly in the fourth quarter was like, oh wow, they can be really good. Newton throws for over 200 yards in the fourth quarter. They score 21 points in the final 15 to win that game. I kind of think that can be a catalyst for them. I like the Panthers, and this is a tough division they're in. Trying to keep pace with the Saints and trying to keep kind of the Falcons and Buccaneers back a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of like Carolina. I kind of like what they're doing, and I have like Ravens. The Ravens still the best defense in the league. But going on the road at Carolina, with Carolina coming off a big win, it's a big ask for Baltimore.
I agree.
I like the Panthers here, and you talk a lot about home underdogs and how it's hard to pick against. It's also hard for me to pick against home underdogs. It's actually a good team like the Panthers are. So I'm not going to do it this week. I'm going straight up Panthers and Panthers at +2.
I am too. And look, I understand with the Panthers that they are a fourth quarter comeback there and a 63-yard field goal away from being 2-4.
Yeah.
So, they walked a tightrope a bit, but I don't know. This line is just, it's weird to me. And I looked at it, I was like, I have to pick the Panthers. It makes perfect sense with what that spread is. We've got 62% Panthers on Pickwatch.com.
But you look at the Ravens, and the Ravens certainly could have gone overtime against the Saints. Justin Tucker missed that extra point, which was totally bizarre. They lost a couple weeks ago to the Browns, but they beat the crap out of the Titans in week 6. They beat the Steelers in week 4. They beat the Bengals in week 2. So they're a good team. I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough line. This is a weird game.
I agree, but I'm Panthers. We're both Panthers, everybody. Colts Raiders. We're going to the late games. Colts favored by 3. Let's see if it's gone up. Speaking of waving the white flag. Nope, still 3. It started this week at probably 1.5 in favor of the Colts. Now we're up to 3. Over under is about 50. Yep, we've got 50. We've got Colts by 3 on the site. So Raiders trying to trade everybody. Amari Cooper gone to the Cowboys. Marshawn Lynch on injured reserve. So they're basically going to be going with Jordy Nelson and Martavis Bryant starting at wide receiver and Doug Martin in the backfield with Derek Carr. The Raiders they played some close games early. They played a good half against the Rams and then got blown out in the second half. They played a couple good games there. Now we've got 2 games in a row that they've kind of got crushed. That if we talked first few weeks of the season, I always look and I say, I hesitate to think teams are going to roll over and die, right? Most teams don't. If they start 0-2, they try to fight back. There's spots where you think they make a stand. The Raiders and Giants seem like the teams that are completely waving the white flag, and if they just got trampled, then we're terrible. You wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I was reading Mike Freeman of the Bleacher Report, formerly CBS Sports, this week, and he had a big story about how a lot of the Raiders players are really upset because John Gruden comes in and he's talking a big game, how they're going to be winners, and then they are giving up, and they're early on. Even trading Khalil Mack, not getting rid of Cooper. And it's a bad scene there. It's a bad atmosphere. But I think in this game, it's not like the Colts are very good. And still making that trip to the West Coast, I think, is tough. And At some point, I think you have to wonder if the team plays to win in spite of the coach. You know, like,
Right.
Screw this guy, man. We're going to win for ourselves because we have a sense of pride. Maybe Gruden doesn't need to have pride because he's going to be there for 10 years or he's getting paid $100 million or whatever it is. But at some point, I think the Raiders are going to be like, hey, wait a minute. We need to kind of step it up and win it for ourselves and for our pride. So I actually think that happens this week because, like I said, I don't think the Colts are very good. They have to make that big trip to the West Coast. Derek Carr's going to have to be really good, especially with Cooper and Lynch out. But, like you said, they still have Jordy Nelson. They still have Jared Cook. Maybe Doug Martin can kind of rediscover some of his old self. So I don't love the Raiders here, but I like them enough to pick them to win.
I don't. Here's why. I like the Colts. I think the Colts are better than their record. They got Marlon Mack back. And look, Luck's numbers look good. I mean, it's easy to throw for a lot of yards when you throw 60 times. Last week he didn't, but a few weeks before he did. Marlon Mack, since he's been back, has looked good. So now their offense is a little more diverse. They can do more things. Their defense has actually been okay. I mean, I know they played some bad teams, but their defense has been okay. They've had this rep for the past few years of having a really bad defense. And they're sort of a middle-of-the-road defense now, which is fine. I mean, I don't think they're an especially good team, but I think that 2-5 record is going to sort of level off a little bit, and they're going to win some games. And I think this is a spot. I mean, this is a game I normally wouldn't pick. I'm like, I'm going to pick a 2-5 team on the road, given points. But in this case, I'm gone.
Also the Raiders are coming off a bye, so that maybe plays a little bit into it. This is going to be the third game in 4 weeks that is on the road. So that wears on you a little bit. They gave up points to the Jets and they gave up a ton of points to the Patriots and the Texans in the last few weeks. Yeah, they look good against the Buffalo Bills, but it's the Bills. So I'm not sure I agree with that defense is going to be okay. I don't think it's been all that great. And not to say the Raiders are hallmarks of offense, but I don't know. I think there's just enough kind of intangibles in this game where the bye weeks and road games, and I think that the Raiders are going to squeak it out.
I think the Raiders are going to squeak it out. Okay. On Pickwatch right now, we have got 77% Colts in the early going. So
I guess they agree with you.
I guess so. We'll see. It doesn't mean they're right. Since you went 12-3 last week, or 12-2, or whatever you were, because
you did that a couple weeks ago, right? Didn't you do that in week 6 or something? Where you
something like that.
Ridiculous number.
It's all in the past because now I stink at this. So Niners Cardinals at Arizona on NFLPickwatch.com. We have got Cardinals by 1. I see Cardinals by 1. I see Niners by 1. We're kind of all over the place with this one. Over under is 42, 43, depending on where you shop for it. The Cardinals made a change after that debacle a week ago today. They fired their offensive coordinator, Mike McCoy. Josh Rosen got hurt, but he's out of his walking boot practice Wednesday. He got hurt very late in the game. When they were losing 45-10 and they kept him in for some inexplicable reason. He got hurt, but it sounds like he's going to be okay and going to play this week. They also might be without Trey Boston. The Niners injury, Matt Breida looked like things were bad. Kyle Shanahan sounds optimistic that he's going to play. This is two bad teams here. There's no good way to say it. I know I said a few weeks ago, I thought the Niners were going to be frisky without Jimmy Garoppolo. And I know they were in a bad spot last week, coming off that Monday night road loss and traveling back and having a short week. And the Rams just killed them. I don't know. I don't know what changes the Cardinals make. You would hope they use David Johnson a little more creatively rather than run them up the middle all the time, which is what they were doing with Mike McCoy. With that said, I don't have a strong feeling on this game. Two bad teams, I don't know which one's going to be worse. That makes me lean the home team, but I don't have a strong opinion on it.
I don't have a strong opinion on it either. I think that you fire Mike McCoy and give the offense to Byron Leftwich. In 2016, Leftwich was an intern, and now he's running the whole offense. So I don't know if things get a lot better just because he hasn't called plays before yet. I don't know. The whole thing is kind of weird. Meanwhile, David Johnson, 14 carries for 39 yards last week, 3 catches for 31 yards. It's a freaking joke, man.
They ran him up the middle. All they did was run up the middle. You can see that if you look at everybody, the next gen stats on NFL.com is really cool. And you can see the maps. and he was running between the tackles. I mean, this is a guy who was a college wide receiver and is kind of a shifty, slithery, guy who works well in space. And they were ramming him up the middle like he was, Larry Zonka in the 1970s. It was ridiculous.
So maybe Leftwich can come out, as a younger guy, as a younger coach, a guy who isn't too far removed from his own playing career, and can, like you said, do some more creative things with him because they really need to.
Right.
But I've got no faith in this team, and not that I have a whole lot of faith in San Francisco either. I think I picked San Francisco to win this game.
You've got Niners. I've got Cardinals.
You're right. It's two bad teams. It's hard, it's hard to know when you get a pair of like 1-win teams. But CJ Beathard, as much as I've kind of thought poorly about how them having to play him, he's been okay during the season. So I don't know. I'm really down on the Rams. I'm sorry, on the Cardinals. I just don't see where the whole franchise right now is just a joke.
Yep. So I'm looking at Football Outsiders. Other than the Bills, so their DVOA rankings come out every week.
Yeah.
Bills are in their own category, basically, but they have the Cardinals 31st and the Niners 30th. So this is if you had added to your column the don't watch game of the week,
oh my God,
this is the game. All right. I'm going Cardinals. You're going Niners. Folks, don't bet this game. It's just there's nothing to trust. We don't know the offensive coordinator. We don't know how Rhodes is going to play. We don't know Bethard. We don't know any of it. So someone has more insight than that. Please let us know. But I don't have any good stuff. What do we got on Pickwatch, by the way? Who's picking who? 54% Niners in the early going. All right. Packers, Rams. Rams favored by 9. Over under is 57. We have got, I see some 9.5. I see 56.5, and over unders dropped down a little bit in some places. So according to, I actually read this on, I think it was someone on OddsShark, that the Packers have never gotten this many points with Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterback. Never in his entire career.
Yeah, the line made me kind of do a little bit of a double take because it's the Packers and they're +9, and I know the Rams are really good, and I know they have to go to Los Angeles, but that line also seems a little strange to me. I don't know. I don't. Are the Rams that good? Are the Rams that much? Yeah, I know they're good, but are they that much better than the Packers? I don't know.
The Packers are struggling. They're okay. They are. What are they? 4-2?
No, right? I think they're 3-2-1.
3-2-1. Okay. So, I mean, they had a rally in that opener against the Bears. I mean, I know they won the game. I get it. It was a miracle comeback against the Bears. That game against the Niners was as good as lost at one point, and they came back and won. I mean, this is a team that could be 1-4-1 pretty easily. And I know you can say that about a lot of teams because there's a lot of close games in this league, but this team is struggling a bit, and the Rams they are rolling. Like they look like this sort of they are a steamroller right now, and they're going to beat. I don't know if they're going to beat everybody who gets in front of them. I think they might, and their defense is good enough. It's good. I mean, Aaron Donald's a wrecker. I mean, I know they lost to Talib and that hurt, but I'm not scared away by this point spread.
I wrote a lot about this game, a pretty good amount too in my column. And you look at their stats, and they're the NFL's third best team in points scored, fourth best in points allowed, fifth in turnover differential, eighth in passing yards per game, first in rushing yards per game, eighth in rushing yards allowed. So I mean, they have some really remarkable balance on that team. And obviously you got Todd Gurley, and you got Aaron Donald, and you got Jared Goff. So yeah, the Rams are really, really good. At the same time, though, I mean, they got the Packers this week, then they go to New Orleans, or they played New Orleans, and they got Seattle, and they got to Kansas City. So I'm not seeing somewhere along the line they're going to lose a game because that's a pretty tough 4-game stretch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be this week where they're going to lose, but I don't know, man. I just can't wrap my head around the Packers being 9-point dogs with Rodgers starting. It just doesn't make any – it's hard for me. Maybe you're right, but I'm going to have a hard time doing that knowing what I know about the Packers and Aaron Rodgers in the last 10 years.
Okay. This game, Cooper Kupp's still out for the Rams, by the way, which hurts. Peters is fine. I'm trying to think of what else here. Randall Cobb looks like he's back for the Packers. So, by the way, you talked about that Chiefs game. Remember, we've talked about how we couldn't wait for it. That's week 11. The early over-under's out. What do you think it is?
I don't know.
Chiefs-Rams in week 11, 63.5. Opens out. Love it. Can't wait to watch that one.
The biggest you've heard? What's the biggest spread you've heard, or over-under you've heard?
I think last week, one of the games, it might have been the Chiefs game. It might have been, I think it was Pats-Chiefs. That was the highest in the NFL since 2004, and that was 59.5. Oh,
wow.
So this one's, blowing it out of the water. So
Rams are only 4-3 against the spread. They're good, but they're not great against the spread.
Right. They had a close game at Seattle. They had another close road game somewhere. All right. Anyway, I've got Rams. Sounds like you've got Packers against the spread.
Yep.
Pickwatch, NFL Pickwatch early going, 69% Packers. So the masses and the experts are with you. Saints Vikings, Saints revenge game at Minnesota. I've got Minnesota -1, over under 52.5 looks like the number. Everybody, I'm looking at -1. Everybody, Minnesota -1 everywhere. This game, let's see, Dalvin Cook's still out. Vikings are banged up on defense. Xavier Rhodes, their corner, Anthony Barr, their starting linebacker, both did not practice on Wednesday after getting hurt last week. We're not sure what their status is going to be. The injuries on defense could be a problem here against the Saints. The Saints who are 3-0 against the spread on the road, by the way.
I think it's difficult for the Saints to, they had to go on the road last week against Baltimore, and they won, kind of just barely. And now they're going back on the road against a tough team in the Vikings. I think that's hard to do going against two pretty top-notch teams on the road in back-to-back weeks. Then they got the Rams next week, and they're at the Bengals. So this is a really tough stretch here for the Saints. If they can go 3-1 in this stretch, that's a really good indication that this is a team that in the NFC is one of the top teams in that conference.
Yep. I'm impressed with them. I like them a lot. I think in the beginning, their defense looked a little shaky. I think it's rounded into form. I think Eli Apple becomes kind of a nice complementary corner to Lattimore. This is a good team. I really, really like them. It's funny. I was on initially, I've been a Vikings fan all year. We've talked about this every week that I think they're going to, establish themselves as one of the elite teams. And I do. I think they're very good. The Saints impress me more all the time. I actually started off with picking the Vikings. I flip-flopped. I'm taking the Saints.
I'm still going with the Vikings because, like I said, it's tough to go back-to-back road game. It's tough to go back-to-back weeks on the road against two really good teams. So I think, no matter how good a team is, that's a pretty tough ask, I think. But it's going to be a close game. I think this is a hard game to pick. I do like the Vikings here. Dalvin Cook still is out again, but Latavius Murray has played really well the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
It makes you forget a little bit about Cook, and Kirk Cousins has been pretty awesome this year as at quarterback. Maybe against some odds that people had thought that he wasn't going to be that good. So it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a fun game to watch.
All right. So 69% of the experts so far on NFLPickwatch.com have taken the Vikings. Josh is with them. I have got the Saints. Finally, Monday night, Bills-Pats at Buffalo. Let me see if the line has changed here. All right, mostly 14. You can get 13.5 depending on where you look. 44.5 is the over/under.
I saw 13 early. I saw 13 early in the week, and I think we had it 13 earlier in the week, and that
it was either 13 or 13.5, and it went up. And my question to Ryan was, as bad as the Bills are, I read some stat yesterday. It was something like 18% of their pass plays have ended in either sack or an interception. Like it was some crazy, terrible stat. Yeah. Just some background in this game. LaShawn McCoy's in the concussion protocol. We don't know his status. The Patriots going to be without Sonny Michel. Sounds like they're going to get Gronk back. The question I asked Ryan on Tuesday, I know the Bills are bad. Can you give can you pull the trigger on giving on laying the points against laying 14 points against the team at home? Like, can you say, hey, road team is going to cover 2 touchdowns? I know it's the Bills. I know it's the Patriots. That's still a hard one.
I don't think it's that hard, honestly. I do have the Patriots all day here. And I wonder what it would be if Nathan Peterman was going to start. Maybe you're looking at 17 or something like that. As bad as Derek Anderson was last week, there's still some comfort there that he's not as bad as Peterman,
Right.
I don't have a problem with that spread, I'd take the Patriots. I just think we know the Bills have shown a couple times this year that that lightning can strike and they can win a game. They're obviously not going to win this game. That's ridiculous. But to keep it with, the Bills don't have the firepower to keep it within 2 touchdowns, and the Patriots Patriots are mean. Patriots are going to run this game up, man. You know.
All right. The Pats last 6 games at Buffalo, 5-1 against the spread. I don't know. If the Patriots, more than any other team, that when they lose a guy, an important guy, they kind of figure it out. You know, like they go to the Super Bowl, they have no Gronk. It doesn't matter. They're incredible that way. But I look at this and I go, well, I mean, it's a ground and you think with spread by 14, they're going to not ground and pound, but they're going to be able to run the ball. But Michelle's not there, so they got 2 little shrimpy running backs who are good. But I don't know. I can't do it. I can't give the 14 points against them at home. I might feel stupid when the Pats win, 34-3, because I know the Bills are terrible. I get it. And they're playing a 3rd-string quarterback who was playing golf 2 weeks ago. I know. But
do you know how many they've played since 2000? Can you guess how many times the Patriots have lost to the Bills? They played twice a year, every year since 2000.
I don't know what, 3, 2, I don't know.
The Bills have won 4 times.
4 times in 17 years.
And 18. Yeah.
Wow.
That's like 34 games, something like that.
All right.
Anyway, that's just some inane trivia for you. But I think the Bills are. I'm a little surprised that you think that 2 touchdowns is a little too much for them. But
at home, 2 touchdowns at home is much for me. And I think the Bills defense, I know I said this last week, but the Bills defense is capable of making a game somewhat interesting in that they can keep a team in check. Their defense is not so bad. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
I don't think you're crazy, but I don't see that. Who's going to start at running back in place of Michelle?
It's going to be a combo of James White and Kenyon Barner, the only guys they have.
Yeah. And
Barner's a small guy too. So I don't know. I mean, you can't run. You have to run differently with those guys.
Yeah.
Because Michelle is more of a bruiser. I mean, not a bruiser, but he's bigger than the other 2.
I mean, the Bills scored 5 points last week, God.
I know. Derek Anderson, I know. I mean, he was literally playing golf 2 weeks ago. So
he's a good spot for him to be in, though, Yeah. He's no expectations, making a little bit of money. He's back in the league on TV. I mean, God.
Yeah.
35 years old. It's career maybe he's over. Now he's a starter again.
All right, on NFLPickwatch.com, we got 62% Pats against the spread, so people agree with you. Most popular so far in the early going, Redskins 85%, Chiefs and Colts 77%. That's all against the spread. So there's a lot of toss-ups. We won't get into them here. I'll get into those more on Sunday morning. What else you got going
on? What's going on? I don't know. Nothing great. I just I had the big 4-0 birthday this past week. So
happy birthday.
I'm still wrapping my head around it, but I'm gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right.
I've been there, man. It's all right.
Yeah. You're gonna help me get through it, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I'm 50 in March, so.
You know what, man? It's better than the alternative, right?
Thanks. I guess so. Exactly. All right, folks.
We don't have to be getting up at 6 in the morning. We could be somewhere else.
We could be somewhere else. Instead, we're sitting here talking about football at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's not a bad deal. It could be a lot worse. Yeah. All right, folks, hit us on Twitter. He's at Josh Katzowitz. I'm at Halpin37. You can also check the main account at Pickwatch. Also, again, wherever you're watching this, if you're watching on YouTube, like us on Facebook. If you're watching us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel every time. Like I said, this show, we're going to break it down into 14 individual game clips as well as have the whole show. So if you just want to talk about, my bad take on Bills Pats, you can do that in a 3 or 4 minute batch. You can do that for all the games every week. We think it's really helpful. So please go check it out on our YouTube channel. Also, keep up with the picks all week long. Make your own picks, NFLPickwatch.com. That's it for today's edition of Pickwatch Live. Reminder, I will be back here on Facebook, 11:45 a.m. Eastern on Sunday, going over the final news, inactives, give you an update on the Jags-Eagles game, all that. For Josh Katzowitz, I'm John Halpin. Thanks for watching.